All right, this is the deck I'm on. and needless to say, this sucker is big, man. I mean, second floor. I mean, it's really a large deck. And let me kind of express what's going on here. This is somewhat of a screw up in a weird way, because the homeowner, I've known her forever. And really, she doesn't throw a lot of big stuff at me, but this time she did. So I came out and power washed all this, and she gave me a can of Behr semi-transparent in this kind of gray, okay? This. Now, I'm going to share something with you here, and this is where life can really, really mess with your head, and also you'll wonder what in the hell you're in this business for. Because if you can look it through the camera, just look at the camera for a second. I'm going to zoom up here a little bit. Do you see all the different colors? Well, there's a reason for it. And I'm going to tell you exactly what the story is here. Let's start by just looking at this area right there. That is exact match, semi-transparent to the old gray, because we could not find the code, the original code from Behr. So Sherwin-Williams mixed up this, and we looked at it, and I'm gonna be honest with you, that looks pretty damn close to this old, faded out, oxidized paint, okay? This is a second coat. Now all of a sudden it turns to a different color. You see that? Look at that. And then look at this. And look at the old. Okay? See? Here's another test strip. See how it starts to disappear with the original? Well, guess what it did? It turned blue. Or it turns into a lighter gray. See? So what happened here is this. Is the homeowner came out and looked at this and said, oh, shit, no. Oh, hell no. There ain't no way that's an exact match. And I said, well, according to the original paint code and to the test strip that we did, if this deck was brand new, comparing the two shades and pigments, that is your exact match. Originally. Well, unfortunately, for some reason, this paint, this particular product, ends up going from this to this with a second coat. And she said it doesn't match the house at all, the brickwork. And I said, okay, I agree with you. It doesn't. In fact, it's horrible looking. See? She freaked out. So here's what we did. I told her, I said, look, I'm going to give you your original can, and then you go down and figure out, there's her original, or this is the product that she took down there, but it was the old can, and she went to, instead of Sherwin-Williams, she went to Home Depot. And this is what she said to them. Because I gave her a sample, and I'll show you where it is. There, I took that little piece out right there, see? And I say, you do what you want to do as far as matching the color that's going to make you happy. This did not make her happy. This was what she was trying to tell me was what she had intended when she built the house. Now, if you look at the mortar, you look at the gutter, and you look at the brick color, this is what she had in mind as far as matching her deck. Well, guess what? That old color is not this new paint. It's different. And guess what happened? She realized. Now let me clear something up. She realized after I explained to her, I might have a little bit of paint on my damn camera. Sorry about that. Sorry about that. I actually saw a paint spot on one of my lenses. But anyway, what ended up happening is that she found out very quickly semi-transparent, semi-solid, and solid in an oil are totally two different beasts. She didn't know anything about what oil is. Oil was kind of one of those things that she said, well, you're going to paint the deck. I said, no, I'm going to stain it. And when we started talking about that, she got confused. But she says, I want you to paint it. I said, no, stain it to the original semi-transparent. I said, if you go 2 coats, it's going to go darker and darker and darker because it keeps picking up more pigment. You put more pigment down. It took a while for us to get on the same sheet of music about that particular thing, okay? So I said, look, when you go down there and for you to be absolutely 100% happy about this thing, I said, you make sure you have a color, a pigment that's going to also hide the other stain. My stain, what I put on, and the old stain. It has to be solid enough of a pigment to do a cover coat. And she finally grasped that. She goes, okay, so we have to go semi-solid. And I said, yeah, or go solid. If you go to a solid color, there's no problem. It'll cover everything, all the old paint and any repaint or restain, okay? So when she finally realized, and I met her first thing this morning, because this I did all this yesterday. All of this was done yesterday, okay? I had this completed. It took me 5 hours to paint all this. Handrails and pick it all the way down to the bottom. Both sides, under everything, okay, complete. So this is day 2, the morning of day 2, and I'm now doing a repaint. So I told her, I said, look, I'm going to have to still charge you. I said, I am not at fault for a code that somebody else tried to mix that they screwed the mix up, okay? And they didn't get an exact match. It sure looked like it was an exact match. From what we took out of that can, we put it on a stir stick, and that's what we came up with. And if you look at that, I lie to you not. That looks like exact match. And that's oxidized. So if you take that, paint this, you should get that. Well, that is what the problem is, because that turned into a light gray that is, in my opinion, one of the ugliest damn grays I've ever seen. It's just ugly, and it doesn't match nothing up here. So I said to her, do what you got to do. Get the color you want to get. So I met her here this morning, and I said, okay, before we go anywhere and we do anything, I put that spotch down there, that little spot, and she goes, that's what I want. So that's where we're at. And guess what? I'm doing this for free. Technically, already been paid for. I look at it as a second coat because now I know for a fact that I'm using a solid, not a semi-transparent. That would be a disaster right now because I would have to brush stroke this thing probably 5 to 6 times to get the color to bite in and cover the old stain. So now I got a solid color. I already know that, boom, it just goes right on without any issues. In fact, just to give you an idea, hold on a second. I'll show you something. Okay. I'm not going to do much, but look. See? Now you got to back. You got to you got to brush this thing in. You know, you can't just go, and expect perfect color. It ain't gonna work that way. You gotta put that color on there, you know? So that means it takes, you just literally load your brush up, man. Just load it. And then if you load it, there you go. See? And then you just keep going over it until you know damn well you've got all the old light gray, whatever that horrid color is, gone. And I'm gonna have to go through and look at every little bit, because I mean, I see like a little dinky dot right there, you know, little stuff. You know, you can be a perfectionist and you're still gonna miss shit. You're gonna still miss stuff. So, you know, when you do that, and then you got to do the backside too. And then I'm going to come up here and stain this deck. Now, this is a whole separate charge. And I told her, I said, because we've got all this crap up here, that I'll do all this. We let it sit for 2 days. Move all this back out here, because all this stuff is heavy, man. I'm not going to try to drag a grill and all that stuff downstairs. There ain't no way in hell. I'm not going to kill myself over this stuff. And I said, I'll come back and then stain this insert, this covered part. The life of a handyman. But keep this in mind. Even though we are both kind of just a little pissy at each other yesterday, because I said, look, you know, I don't like to point fingers and say somebody else is to blame when I'm the one that got the stain and it's wrong. All I can say was that I gave him the sample. We did a stir stick, you know, impression, put it under the spyglass. It kicked out the stain. It looked right. When I put it on here, it looked right. When I went to put the second coat on, it was horrible. So I have to take responsibility for my work, because the bottom line is she's not happy. When a customer's not happy, sometimes you're gonna have to bite. You're gonna have to bite some labor, man. You're gonna have to just give it up and just do it. And now that I got a color that I know for a fact, I can see it, that it matches that damn gutter and it matches the brickwork, which he originally wanted, that type of tint. I'm satisfied she doesn't have to come back on me and say, oh, no, that even looks like shit. No, that's not gonna happen this time around. As you can tell, it looks great. And it matches. Look, see? It matches. Okay, I'll leave you with that. You know what to do. Tom out of here.